criticism around the world, killing 200 journalists, a claim that's been repeated ad nauseum by journalists and pundits around the world. But what is a journalist? Time after time, we see that Hamas uses journalists as cover for their terrorist activities. And Al-Jazeera, well, they're one of the worst perpetrators of this scheme. Take Anas al-Sharif, for example, who everyone is so upset about this week. He was an Al Jazeera journalist who also happened to lead a Hamas terror cell responsible for Hamas-guided rockets. He was also listed in the directory of Hamas operatives active in Jabalia. This week, the BBC also confirmed Anas worked for the Hamas media team in the past. But Anas wasn't alone. On October 7th, at least 6 different photojournalists actively took part in the massacres and were at the scene of the kidnappings and rapes that took place. One of them was Mohammed Salama, a reporter for Al-Aqsa TV, literally a Hamas network that's being considered a journalist. Okay, this guy took part in the October 7th massacres, and still they're calling him a journalist. And then there's Hassan Asliah, who freelanced for AP and CNN. Hassan was a big fan of Yahya Sinwar, and he participated in the October 7th attack, striking a pose with no press vest, of course, in front of a burning IDF tank. He was later confirmed to be an operative in Hamas's Khan Yunis brigade. But there's more. Ismail al-Ghul was a Hamas military wing operative and Nukhba terrorist, and of course, a journalist for Al Jazeera. Hossam Shabat, Al Jazeera journalist who also served in the Beit Hanun battalion of Hamas. Hamza al-Dawdu, another Al Jazeera journalist who the IDF exposed as an Islamic Jihad operative. Journalists in war zones should be protected, but using the media as cover for terrorism is a cynical war crime. To then turn around and falsely claim that Israel is targeting journalists when they're targeting terror operatives is completely irresponsible. Sadly, the head of the Foreign Press Association doesn't seem to care about the abuse of journalists by Hamas. Instead of condemning Al Jazeera's ongoing collusion with terror organizations, he said this.
Frankly, I don't care whether al-Sharif was in Hamas or not. We don't kill journalists for being Republicans or Democrats or in Britain Labour Party.
Truly disgusting and really an insult to journalists everywhere. Journalists do not take part in massacres. They do not serve in U.S. and European designated terrorist organizations. Terrorists do. In action, let's take a quick look at the scenes. So I'm here outside the Palestine Action protest in London, and you see behind me there are hundreds of people protesting. These are members of the group Palestine Action, which was recently banned by the UK government because their activists invaded a UK military base and actually destroyed a plane. So that's what's happening on the ground here. We've already seen that there are dozens of arrests, and we saw that the Metropolitan Police said that they will be arresting more of them.
You're a shame arresting old women!
You see now arrests are being made. So apparently the police were so unprepared for this event that they actually brought in Welsh police. You can see some of the cars I took a photo of here. There have already been dozens of arrests, but there are actually 2 different locations that the Palestine Action Group planned this protest in order to make it more difficult for police to enforce the law. So we're going to take a look at the second location. We've seen just in the time that we've been here several clearly anti-Semitic signs, as well as support for this controversial group. We've also seen flags of the Islamic Republic, explicit support for the Islamic Republic, and we've also seen people who were affiliated with Al-Qaeda, for example. We also see Press TV, the Islamic Republic state media on the ground here. Let's take a look at more of what's happening here.
Look at this horrible, sexy Zionist. Oh my God.
So apparently these days, this is what qualifies as freeing Palestine. Now, some of the most appalling things about this entire spectacle were that they planned it intentionally to flout the law. So this group, Palestine ActIon, has been banned for literally committing acts of terror. As I mentioned, they broke into the RAF Air Force Base, arriving on electric scooters, and then once inside, they damaged 2 Airbus Voyager refueling aircrafts by spraying red paint into the engines themselves, using repurposed fire extinguishers, and further damaging the planes with crowbars after the fact. Now, instead of distancing themselves from this radical group, the entire Free Palestine mob tries to now play the victim and organizes this protest in support of them. If that's not enough, they also goaded police to arrest them for expressing support for this group, which
they don't believe how toxic this is.
Legal. And they intentionally held events in 2 different locations to make it much harder for the police, as I showed, to arrest them. Now, this moral narcissism is really just sickening, and even more so in person. In the end, there were over 500 arrested, including the former Guantanamo detainee who worked with al-Qaeda, Moazzam Beg. The group has also been warned that any of their members will not ever be granted entry to the United States due to their activities against the UK military. But the problem here in the UK is that there are no actual consequences for this lawless behavior. I mean, what are the results? Okay, 500 arrested, but these vile terror supporters are arrested and then released after literally a few hours. Charge them. We can't expect to stop this lawlessness, this support for terrorism, if there's no actual enforcement. Now, I think the UK is in a much worse place than the United States on this issue as of yet, but that is rapidly changing. I mean, we constantly see a lack of legal accountability for those that commit hate crimes. I'd actually love to hear from you guys what you think. Are hate crimes against Jews being dealt with in your country? Let me know in the comments what you think. And while all this drama is happening in the UK, stateside, it's not much better. This is happening in the UK, stateside, it's not much better. This week, it was revealed by the FBI that nearly 70% of all religiously motivated hate crimes in 2024 targeted, you guessed it, Jews. That's record high levels of anti-Semitism across the United States. Now, mind you, for as long as I've been alive, Jews have been at the top of that list. But the number is increasing and fast. U.S. incidents reached a record 9,354 in 2024. And this is directly related to the empowerment of radicalism and disinformation. I mean, you go to these marches and people have no idea that tons of aid is flowing into Gaza. They don't even know what the casualty statistics are. I mean, one of them in London told me that Israel had killed 2 million Gazans, the entire population. Unfortunately, this is the result when you use loaded and inaccurate terminology to describe what's going on. A 400% spike in anti-Semitic incidents in Europe after October 7th, and a 500% spike on U.S. college campuses. Nearly 10,000 incidents in 1 year in the U.S. alone. Jews being beaten on the streets in broad daylight, firebombing of Jewish synagogues and schools in Australia and in the U.S., violent shootings of American Jews. This week, urine-filled balloons were thrown at Jews participating in a pride parade in Montreal. The El Al offices in Paris were defaced with fake blood. The Israel-American Coalition offices were vandalized in L.A., and a Jewish man was assaulted in Paris. The list goes on and on and on. All this while we're hearing over and over again how Palestinians are the victims. Seriously? It's really incredible to me how your average person doesn't see the inversion that's taking place in society right now in the aftermath of October 7th.
I've never seen such an amazing cleaning product.
Well, joining us now to discuss a little bit more about the anti-Semitism in the UK, we have Faize Elavi, a talented Iranian artist, analyst, and researcher who's focusing on foreign development. Faize is currently based in the UK, as I mentioned, where she recently made headlines for her commitment to dialogue and refusing to give in to anti-normalization bullies. Sadly, it does seem that she's faced a lot of that on UK campuses. Faize, thank you so much for being here with us today. Just to get started, can you share a bit about how you grew up in Iran? What it was like for you, and how you ended up in the UK?
Well, I was born and raised in Iran, and I have left Iran 6 years ago, almost 6 6 years ago. And yes, I have been in Iran and I started to study engineering. It was a hot topic in Iran back then. And then gradually I changed my major as everything is in Iran is kind of related to politics. And you are really being affected by what regime is doing to you. And because of the concerns I had and because of my experiences, I decided to actually change my expertise and my major towards the policy work, and at the same time focus on my art, which is more specifically Persian art. And now I'm using it for my advocacy as well.
And your art is really stunningly beautiful. I'm a big fan. Now, were you always against the Islamic Republic? What was the turning point for you, if there was one?
Well, it's hard to say that the young generation of Iranians were always against the Islamic Republic. At the same time, it's hard to say that they were always supporting the Islamic Republic, because let me explain it. You are being grown up in Iran and you are going to school, to the university, and what the regime is trying to do is controlling everything, every institution, and your school and your studies as well. So you are being indoctrinated in the Islamic Republic schools and universities to be radical and to support the regime. And they are spreading propaganda. It's mainly lies about your history, about your identity, and everything else. So it's at the same time you are seeing the reality of your life, your families, your friends outside of the universities and schools. And at the same time, you are being indoctrinated in schools. So it's not like you are choosing to support this regime or not, but you are kind of being in that situation as well, So after I wasn't that much an active voice when I was in Iran, but maybe the turning point, you are seeing the reality of your life and the people, what they are going through, and yourself as well. So for me, there wasn't a specific turning point, but many things happened. For example, I couldn't, from the economic perspective, it's really hard to find a job and to thrive inside Iran. So every young Iranian would face this question in its lifetime, that what should I do? Do I have any future in this country or not? So you will decide that what should you do about what you are going through. And another thing is that I didn't find any opportunity inside the country, and as well as the political side of the realities on the ground is really different than what the Western media is portraying. I was one of the protesters, for example, in Bloody November when it happened, and I was seeing the reality inside the streets. I have seen the blood of my neighbors in the streets, and it's like when you are inside the country and if you are alive, it's truly by chance in Iran. This is the real situation, actually. And again, a few days later, I have lost two of my classmates when the IRGC shut down the PS 752 flight. And yes, this is the reality. So basically, it's like when you are an Iranian, you either have a family or you know someone who has been affected by this regime.